Hello, everybody. Let me see. Yeah, it's connecting on there, so we're doing okay. Well, we say that. There we go. Now I can hear myself in the other monitor, so I know we are good. Ladies, welcome everybody. This is going to be somewhat of a different show, only because of the breaking news hitting the world. So let me just speak favor over us all. We need it. The world needs it. Um, we need to do some mass manifestation. I hope that other channels on YouTube will do the same because, ladies and gentlemen, we are on literally the precipice of World War III with the breaking news that is coming out. Nothing missing, nothing broken. So we love you. This is a second look, probably one that will go down as we're really at a crossroads, and you know, for everyone, thank you in the chat room. We're going to try to keep this positive, but we also have to deal with the hardcore reality that sometimes other people's decisions affects us all, and sadly, we're in that. Just to bring everybody up and welcome, ladies. We'll bring you in here. I just want to get this off. Um, we know apparently around 8 p.m. yesterday, East Coast time, apparently the Biden gate signed off on it and has given Zelensky and the Ukrainian army permission to use the U.S. long-range missiles. These are intermediate to long-range, meaning they can go from 100 miles up to 1,000 miles. Um, with that word that went out, Putin immediately made the announcement that if these weapons are used, he will consider this a unilateral attack by the United States and Europe, along with Great Britain. He has said that due to the escalation of what is now breaking, that they are currently, and you can, I just got off DEF CON level website. What I read there was a little disturbing. It's at 3. It is, though, in being in discussion to move to potentially 2. But Biden said that Russia will be reassessing their nuclear strategy and response. Right as we were going live, it is now being announced that the UK, your Prime Minister, Jenny, has just given permission to Zelensky and the Ukrainian army to use the Britain's intermediate to long-range missiles as well. Further breaking news is that apparently Ukraine has fired, reports are half a dozen, potentially more, missiles now into deep Russia. Things are moving very quickly. Things are moving very fast. Uh, President Trump has just came out 45 minutes ago, making the announcement asking Putin to please do not respond on this, that he is coming, but this is something that he cannot stop with the Biden administration escalating this. Apparently, they want World War III. The world does not need or want World War III. So, if it is true and been confirmed that the Ukraine has in fact launched a missile now, we do not know, but potentially what the retaliation will be. But I have a feeling that Putin feels that he is being forced into a situation. And listen, I totally sympathize with the man. I mean, if my people were being attacked, uh, yeah, I mean, and innocent lives. Now, listen, Zelensky to me is a war criminal. He should be arrested and he should be tried by a U.S. Tribunal court because what he has done is criminal. we can't stop that right now. That is a reality that unfortunately can't, be dealt with at the moment. What we have to do, and ladies, welcome, by the way. Good to see you, Trina. Hello, Jenny. We have to, in small groups, maybe we can grow to larger groups, but we have got to come together and we've got to attack this in a way of seeking that number one, these leaders will have calmer heads, that sensibility and calmness of the minds will take place, and that this can be de-escalated. I think the United States has made a critical mistake in this. I don't know where the Joint Chiefs is at. I don't know how the Biden cabinet has approved this as well, but Congress should be immediately in emergency session. What they're in session right now, coming back, about to leave. But the Speaker of House Mike Johnson should immediately convene the House and condemn the Biden administration for this lawless, reckless act that is bringing humanity, the world, to a nuclear exchange. Ladies and gentlemen, this is something that we have got to, and we are not defenseless on this. We have abilities that can reach out into the spiritual realm. Now, that may sound like nonsense, but you know what? I'll take nonsense over World War III. So, Trina, Jenny, what say y'all?
I agree.
We're having reports. I totally agree. We're having similar reports. I saw a thing in Thailand where thousands of school children are meditating for hours in the day for world peace. And the sight of them was just amazing.
When was this happening?
Just 2 days ago. Just 2 days ago.
Wow.
It was a beautiful sight. And I was glad to have come across it. And so, yes, we do have power in this. And as the observers, we have power in this. And we are having exactly the same reports, basically, that you've just read out there, that government is riding roughshod over everybody. Even their own rules and regulations be damned, making decisions against the people, not for the people, verbatim of everything you've just defined there. We are lockstep in script with that too. What tells me is that I think it was Loretta, is that the Ukrainian president Zelensky, and other places in the world are being fueled by the West, and then we are actually intimidated. Because I read something the other day of where, and this isn't taking sides at all or being political, but just looking at recent history, Iran, yeah, there's nefarious acts, but it hasn't actually started a war with us, as in firing missiles. Russia has not. Yet those two places and others, we have pushed and pushed and pushed and pushed and pushed our boundaries in. We've invited ourselves in. We've enforced ourselves in. We are still sitting in places that we should not be. In Iraq, in Afghanistan, they've took out the troops, but there we're still manning oil fields that were never ours to begin with. So we've pushed and pushed, and our country has been doing lockstep exactly the same as everything you've just defined, and more. And they're attacking the people on the ground here too. We have a farmers rally here, literally thousands of tractors, if you can imagine that, if you want to look it up after the show, are literally surrounding Westminster in London right now on a protest because new tax laws are going to make it so that people can't hand down their land because of the inheritance tax increasing astronomically to the point where farmers are not cash rich. They may be asset rich, but we need them to have those assets to create food for the people on the ground and stop us being held ransom by other countries that our government is intent on pissing off, so. And what's happening is they've been squeezing farmers for years now, so have supermarkets. And this would mean that literally we would lose thousands of farmers, some that have had the land for 500 years and been guardians of it for that long, not being able to hand it down because they would have to very quickly after the death hand over £1 million in tax, in inheritance tax, that they were always exempt from because of the importance of local food. And so they're literally there in the hundreds tractors, thousands of people, and our MP has not been in the country. He's not spoken to them. He's not communicated with them. It's they've been very obvious about the fact that there is no connection there any longer. They are working for their own ends, and simultaneously having talks with people who would develop that land into, buildings, places of high rent. So we're
You
exactly
know,
the same.
as I see the landscape coming before us, I it concerns me. I mean, I'm 69 and a half. I have seen the United States go through some pretty rough patches, but I've never seen anything that when you look at it, that the potentiality and possibility of things going really wrong, they're in virtually every corner you look at.
Mm.
And I saw someone in the chat room. Hello, everyone in the chat room. Much love to all of you. Um, that this almost seems like, did Biden plan this? Was this kind of the booby trap that they're passing on to Trump? Is that, yeah, he'll go very quiet into the sunset, but oh, guess what, Donald? You have World War III on your hands. And let's just talk about this. Let's just bring this up because this is a second look. And we're going to give this a second look.
I have a
Everything that,
question.
what's that, sweetie?
Wayne, if there's war, can you transfer presidents?
Only if they're, no, he's already been elected. In fact, I heard this on a talk radio show this
I was
morning.
wondering. I didn't
Yeah.
know. I was like,
He's
I
already
want
been elected. So the
to. Okay.
only thing that they could potentially postpone, and that would have to be under a declaration of war or quote unquote martial law being declared, is that they would push off his inauguration. So, and who knows? I mean, there is just so much going on. It's like the picture where Biden was at the G7, the Asian Pacific, excuse me, APAC, and he has been completely off the main stage. It's like the United States is now almost from a world perspective is a third-rated world country, and we have a leader that has dementia, is senile, um, and we have another one coming in and Trump has announced this. Tom Hutton, excuse me, who will be heading up Homeland Security, has said they're going to be opening up FEMA camps. They're going to be opening up detention camps. They're going to be using military and military assets to begin to round people up. This is going to this will have a chain reaction, and if this happens on top of an escalating world war. Jenny, you were talking about food, and I saw Gaia saying our farmers are under attack as well. I have said this for years. Well, Lynn and I have always had that mentality that Henry Kissinger said in 1975 at a forum in Houston, Texas. He said the future will be who controls the food.
Yes.
Yeah.
Not oil, not other precious resources. Who owns the food?
That's why we've all
And
got to
what,
start doing
sorry.
something, even if
Yeah.
it's small. We have to bring it back to the people because if we lose this, we will lose big.
Yeah, yeah, very big. And you can read other indicators. 10 years ago, we bought honey in a very large, and it came in these 5 1/4 buckets.
Wow.
What we paid then, that honey now has quadruple in price.
Oh, yeah.
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 Oh,
And the
yeah.
reason why if you should buy honey is that it is such a medicinal miracle substance. I mean, it can heal wounds. It can take out the fever and infection in wounds. Plus, what it does for your body is just remarkable.
Yeah, I support my
Absolutely.
local beekeepers, and I
Yeah,
purchase all my honey from them locally, and I've given them shungite pyramids and stuff because they say it helps the bees thrive. So I've given them
excellent.
gifts of Oregon to put around the
Yeah,
beekeeping stations. Yeah, so yeah,
I love
I love
that.
that.
I love that.
Yeah.
And I'm like you. Now I'm highly allergic to bees, but
Hmm.
I still love them. I mean, and they love my flower garden. By the way, I can tell you the chickadees, the titmouses, the cardinals, and I leave the flowers up that have seeded because during the winter, the birds come and feed off the seeds. So it's anyway. And by the
It's amazing.
way, speaking of odd things, night before last, I go out because if I don't bring the bird seed in, we have, the raccoons and then we have the possums. Um, so here I'm going out and I look down and I see this white thing down there. So I went and got a flashlight. I have never seen this, but it was a skunk. But now this skunk was big. I mean, really big. And what was even weirder about it is that, skunks are black and then they have the white stripe. This one was white that had a thin black stripe and tail. I've never
Wow.
seen almost an albino skunk before. Oh, and we got two others that come around, but they're regular skunks. So anyway, I digress.
You know
But
what's interesting? I was hearing a story of a guy who says he's had Sasquatch in his property, for years. They've always known about it. But he said he's actually seen the Sasquatch shapeshift into a white deer.
I have heard that before.
Not
Think
interesting. And you said the white skunk. I was like, wow, there's something to this. I don't know what
Yeah,
it
I
is.
mean, Lynn was deeply into a book, and I said, "You got to come out here." And so
Yeah,
she gets up, and
gotta see
you know,
this.
I mean, I've never, and
Mm.
go figure. And oh, by
That's
the way,
wild, Wayne. A white skunk. That's
this
amazing.
is my banana raisin nut bread. So I
Ooh,
wish I could
yum.
give
oh,
everybody a slice because it's
Me too.
freaking good, man.
yeah, I wouldn't mind that
But I
either.
had to show that. I was taking pictures, Trina. I'm going to send them some to where I baked these out on Sunday, and to do it's a major freaking operation, to get everything in there. But
Yes,
anyway,
it is.
mm,
Yes. I was helping my mom. We were doing meatloaf yesterday. Mm, yummy,
mm, there's a
yummy.
good one
Mhm.
on that. Skunks are cute. An old friend had them as pets, and so did my uncle. This one, and I mean,
They're
um,
clever as well, aren't they? They're clever.
yeah, yeah,
You know what? When you were talking about those children, Jenny, praying for peace,
Yeah.
that just ignited my soul.
yeah.
I think a really good, powerful tool for us is to connect with those children's intent and
Mm,
magnify it to the
I
largest
did.
extent that it could possibly ever reach. They know
Yeah.
what to do. I'm like, give it to the kids. They know. Just give energy to them. Just support.
Because they're under the
Ah,
threat of China. So they're doing it under the threat of immense threat of China and it encroaching on them and all of us not helping in that, by
yeah,
the
that's all we
Chinese
need
good.
is China to do something like now move in on
Yeah, yeah.
Taiwan.
And,
I
and
mean,
they're feeling very free on that right now, and they know that they know that that's there, and so they were very it was very powerful. They weren't praying, they were meditating, but same thing. But it wasn't an attachment to a God, thank goodness. It was just that attachment to that source energy of the child. Um, and to see that dedication and focus, and if we want to draw positives out of the discussions that we're being forced to have and the observations that we're being forced to observe, then this is where we see inspirational things like that that mass amount of meditation to bring it about just in a time of complete complete peace and complete contentment, would be very difficult to be made manifest. It would be very difficult to bring about because people are too comfortable. This was they're feeling such a force bumping up against them that they were inspired in numbers to connect with the source energy and make it like a chain reaction. And I think that's what we can take from that too, that we've been experiencing and observing things in really imbalanced proportions of cruelty and abuses of power. But when it's somewhat comfortable, this is how we've gotten to the point that we've gotten to, because it's a creaking gate, isn't it? It sort of sneaks up. But we can take inspiration from that story, like you say, Trina. And in the moments where we're feeling this encroaching power, ironically, if the very people we're paying to be in power over us in our countries, this is when we have to take inspiration from that same, instead of panic, instead of fear, digging deep into the within. Because after all, that's the most powerful space to create in. And it's also the only space we've got to go to now. We really have given over far too much power to be able to, put a fix in here and a fix in there on the outside. This wheel's got too much motion, like Wayne said before, but the within they have no control over. If we can only let go of everything that we can let go of and create in that source filled energy of like the 932 hertz or something like that, to really channel that source connection between one another.
Five,
And
two,
that's,
eight activates the full color wheel, and it's a representation of love in the heart. I think that would be our
yeah,
strongest frequency.
Isn't it
well, that
odd
would be,
too? Go ahead,
I
Jenny.
think we're going in 932 hertz, because of and other people call it the
Um,
God particle
yeah,
frequency, but
yeah.
it's a particle frequency of source energy in the root that you can draw up from. So either or, any of the frequencies, I think if we can connect on them, the frequency that works for you, but connect with the intent, then it doesn't matter the frequency you work in
Mhm.
necessarily, as
Mhm.
long as the intent is the connecting chain, to pull that along. So I think
Well,
that's a positive.
have you seen the Trump dance now that is spreading across the world?
I've heard of it. Yeah,
So
Well,
here it is.
we can't see it, Wayne.
Well, I don't want you to see it. Can you
Oh,
hear it
gotcha.
though?
I was gonna say, oh, gotcha.
So this
Okay.
is, and I mean, if you do the song,
Yeah.
you know, but my
Yeah.
the
point is
color.
that it is a song that is spreading. As I told the world, the chat room, it is the world that, um, remember 3 months ago when we as a group, we were discussing that you never heard the word love. It wasn't in the media. It wasn't really talked about at all. And
Mhm.
now it's like the spring has sprung, and now you're hearing that word love. You're hearing it from the talking heads. You're hearing it. Yeah, I've noticed in the local that I'm saying something happened in this group. This group, we focused in on that. And again, I believe it's part of what maybe it was us alone. Trust there were others out there, but this is also as dark as it is on one side of the street, it's just as bright on the other.
Yes.
And I think what we have to do is to make sure that all of humanity gets on the bright side of the road. By the way, it's a great
That's the
song by Van
challenge.
Morrison.
That's the challenge. This season that we're in is really going to need a lot of fear
Yeah.
to do its modus operandi. So if it doesn't have the
Yes.
energy it needs, it's not going to be as successful. And that's going to depend on how we feel about this experience. So, get into that place inside of you that knows that, if your house isn't on fire and everything is okay in your world, close your eyes and anchor that feeling of just knowing everything is safe. I'm safe. Everything's peaceful in my immediate reality. And, if it's not, imagine that, because it's the best tool we've got at this point is to counter the energy of fear is peace and safety. So,
John Moore, when he was on the show, I guess 6 years ago. In fact, I just saw him recently. He was an interview with him that he has the ability to call out to the UFOs and
mhm.
these UAPs, and whether they're interdimensional, I don't know. But he did say, and I went back and looked at that interview, is that it's the love that emanates within that when you're intent to project out, there seems to be, I don't know whether it's an intellect, I don't know if it's an intelligence, but they seem to respond to where there's that love, that sense of goodness, it's peace, harmony. They seem to
Yeah.
show up.
Mhm.
I hope they
Go
show
take
up
way.
now. I mean, it would be great for them to stop all this nonsense, you know?
You know, I do see that potential in a certain level, but if it was too much, it would be apparently when they intervene, sometimes it's caused more problems than good. So it's up to us. But
Yeah.
the wisdom of those intelligences, Wayne, I really think that we're very intimately connected to that. So I think a lot of this is future selves.
And the other thing I was
Yeah.
thinking, yeah, I was meditating on this. I went out, it's a warm day here, and and the leaves have now all dropped, and you see a different side of my little world. This is
Mm-hmm.
Wayne's world. Um, but
Party on. Excellent.
party on, party on. And when you see this, I was thinking, I kind of missed, like with Michael Jackson. He got when the last time in the 80s when we almost started duking this out, how he brought the musicians at the time and we all came together and we could ride on their frequency. And we
Mhm.
don't have that. I mean, I think about when you talked about the farmers, Jenny, I was thinking about Willie Nelson because I used to go back in the day and hang out when Willie had his event down in Texas. And
Farming.
Farm Aid, exactly.
Mhm. Farming.
And you think about Farm Aid, that was the result of, the worldwide AIDS consciousness being raised. So where are the musicians? I mean, Taylor Swift, she's got her head so far up her ass that all she but what I'm saying there has to be musicians and promoters that where the world needs is this night of coming together, where we could
They've all
once again have these big stage names and let them carry the water that we drew. And that water they would be carrying is to spread the unification through the frequency and the vibration of love through the music.
There are some great
Oh,
independent artists, but to be honest, when you've got to go out and seek them yourself because they're shadow banned. They if they're not willing to sign up to a label, they are really heavily penalized, and they
No,
they,
you're
they
right. I
don't
was
break
in that industry.
they don't
Um,
break through the same ways they even used to be able to. They're just not even letting them in now because they can keep spieling out all of this generic, spell casting music that is hypnotizing, but not in a way of going within or making you think or making you lift or making you dwell, when need be. They're corralled and shadow banned in a space that is they are singing out there, but they're not being heard. When they
well,
do
surely
get
they
heard,
could. I know I don't have the context I used to have, but I don't see where a record label or promoter how they could stand the backlash, particularly on social media these days. We did it again, with the AIDS, and I mean, they made a movie of that. Freddie Mercury, it was his shining moment. That, in fact, if you go back and see that 17 minutes of Freddie, I mean, it is filled with magic. It's filled with the hypnotizing. Why? Because it was love. It was the essence of, and we saw this in so many other bands. Today, I don't know if it could be happening. As you were talking, Jenny, I was thinking if you have a large venue, today you'd have to have all this security because
Yeah,
someone would try to come in and counter the vibe, the
yeah.
energy. Um, we never had that back in the 70s. We really didn't. And I can say for the 80s for the most part as well. But I don't know. You see, my mind goes that I will not stop at an obstacle, no matter what the obstacle is. I'm either going to go through it, I'm going to climb it, or I'm going to go around it. Either way, I'm still going to get to where I'm going to get. And we may be a small group, but I'm telling you, I don't have the answer. I'm just, we're at the water cooler just throwing out some ideas, brainstorming, and I'm good at that because from brainstorming comes the essences of what we need for a solution. That's all. I'm a hippie. I was born to
Yeah.
be a hippie, and I'll go out as a hippie.
Hmm.
There are small gatherings, and there's a few good independent artists in the UK that are they're going back to busking. Literally, some of them have like 2 million followers on YouTube, and they're going back to busking on the streets to put their heartfelt message out there. So, but you have to go and seek it. You actually can't just find it because in the 70s, 80s, early 90s, there wasn't the array of stories. So the AIDS thing affected so many people, and it was one story that people could really um, see was a there was a thread to it. Now we've got people having to sing about a war here, a war there, food deprivation here, food deprivation there. There's so much happening, there's so much content happening that that arenas are being choosy as to who to book. So these independent artists are doing what you're doing and pushing on through, but they're not reaching the audience that we would necessarily just assume they would reach, but I do believe they're there. I do listen to a couple that are really touching across different genres, but
See, I don't know
there's
who
not
those
only
groups are. I've never heard of them.
so
Someone
Ren,
said,
Ren, great one, Ren. He's a great independent artist, and he dropped himself from Sony Music, to become an independent artist, and he's had to work really hard for years after that in order to get these. But he's
what
just started
genre is he primarily in?
goes across the genres. So
Meaning,
he's a brilliant vocal cord. So he's a brilliant rapper, brilliant singer, brilliant poet, fabulous at cinematography. He does all his own movie set sort of videos in one takes for the most part. Um, and he busks still. And so he's another one of them. And he goes across, you can't put him in a genre. He's like Michael Jackson in a way, in that he can really put himself to a message rather than any given genre. So he's, yeah, little brother Ren, yeah, he's a great one, and he's had to really fight through. So he's one of the main ones that I can think of right now. But I'll send you some as I come across them again, like in my playlist. And he's great. He even revisits epic songs of the past, like Message in a Bottle. He revisits other genres that are way before he was born, to put out the message as well. So again, they are there like we are here now. I just feel like if you don't find them by accident almost, it's difficult for them to be seen.
well, they should learn to organize themselves. I mean, that's what happened to us in the 60s and 70s. I mean, I was a roadie for 6 months and, um, you know, a lot of that time takes the initiative of this younger generation. I think if they had, and there's enough means in which that if enough of them got together for a purpose, that this could be. I mean, we didn't do anything special back in, 50 years ago. It was just that people, be candid with you, none of us wanted to go to war.
Yeah.
My 18th birthday was the last year of the draft. And, that was a strong motivation.
Yeah.
I think of Country Joe and the Fish, and it's 1, 2, 3. What are we talking for? Don't give a damn. Next stop is Vietnam. So now
Yeah.
we're going to be saying the next stop is going to be Russia, Ukraine, Europe. I would think that hopefully these younger bands, because that's not my generation, but they should take the bull by the horn, so to speak, and make it happen. I mean,
Yeah.
you've got the internet. We didn't have the internet back in the 70s. I mean, we didn't have this mass means of communication. And here I am, if I was to take the role of promoter, you give me a dozen bands that have the followings. I don't need your stinking stadium. What I need now is that I could set up a set and have the program rolling to where we would broadcast it out through multiple social media sites. I mean, I'm just brainstorming, but what do I know?
Mhm.
Oh, it would be great. I mean, I would live for that. It would be great.
I could see Trump
Yeah.
coming out and dancing, I really could. He's a pretty groovy
Mm.
guy, but I mean, he's got Elon, he's got Vivek, he's got amazing to me the young minds that he's bringing in. He's bringing in the 20 somethings. And if there is going to be a nuclear war, it's going to impact them more than it's going to impact my generation. We've already lived the vast majority of our youth. We've seen that. We escaped all that. I think about our grandbabies, and, this is the type of stuff that, hopefully the youth, Jenny, talking on your point, that they'll see the seriousness of this and that they'll organize amongst themselves, because that's the message that needs to go out, is not the baby boomers. We're not even in that mix. This message needs to go out to a different generation that's going to be more impacted than what we are going to ever be.
Yeah. Yeah. Do you think there'll be a draft in the
Oh, it's
US?
already law. Here in
Okay.
the United States, when they passed the Inflation Reduction Act, in the middle part of that legislation, the draft is in there, and it's drafting women as well.
Okay.
Do you know, here in the United States, what most 18-year-olds don't realize is that they're automatically been registered.
Wow.
And the vast majority of youth that I talk to, and when I see someone that's in their late teens to early 20s, I asked them, I said, if there was a draft, would you go? And all of them said no. They wouldn't register, they wouldn't do it. And I said, I look at them, I'm saying, but you don't understand. You already are.
Wow.
Mhm.
How
It's
dare
registered through the driver's
they?
license, right?
Social Security, basically, yeah, it's done through the Human Health and Administration. So they're all there, and it's like they don't realize this, and it doesn't. All it takes is for the executive branch to invoke that, and you'll see mass. They'll round up the youth.
They did it in Ukraine.
Yeah. I mean, in a sense, they kind of did it with the boomers, because you didn't have a choice. You did not. Um,
What is this that we think we don't have a choice? I mean, where is this coming from?
I
You know,
don't.
this is like where is this? I mean, really? So some old guy with a piece of paper says, "Oh, now you all get to send your kids off to die." Who? How do they think that? I don't.
But it
I
comes
don't.
from conditioning, doesn't
I
it,
can see the
Trina?
front. That's what I love about you,
Yeah,
Trina.
it comes from conditioning, though,
See, on
doesn't
my
it?
team, you two girls are on my team. I mean, I'm just going to tell you, I just
Yeah.
We've
I
got
mean, I can write a magic paper that says nobody has to go. Whose paper's stronger? Whose
true,
paper's
true,
stronger?
yeah. Well,
yeah,
remember,
Let's
we
get
live in this
snow.
time of Deagle. Remember the Deagle report.
Yeah, but
So
you know
where
what,
do
Wayne? I don't know if we're
220
on that
million?
timeline anymore. I'm wondering if we are on that timeline anymore. I don't think that we are.
Well, if you invoke a draft and you have a World War War, you're going to, I mean, years ago, there was a guy by the name of Perry Stone, and he had a
Yeah.
vision. I knew Perry, and he had a vision that there were three black tornadoes,
Hmm.
and each one of these tornadoes that hit was an event. The
Hmm.
last tornado is there is, as he saw, is these very bright explosions happening in the Midlands of the United States and the two coasts. Now, he interpreted this has been decades ago, and we all interpret that is, well, most likely nuclear. But now I'm beginning to wonder, well, what if it was celestial? What if there was an
Yeah.
asteroid or something? But no, and it's just really weird because the other two have fact come to pass. So I don't know.
Yeah, it's interesting. I do when I go to my higher guidance team, they've been telling me this for a while. And it's so hard to anchor that because we don't see it. But they said for whatever reason, the consciousness level on this planet, with the growth that we've done, we are not on those timelines anymore. We've moved them. But things are still going to get wonky. But it's not going to be, I think that's why people are having a hard time doing predictions right now. Have you noticed that? A lot of people with the predictions on the elections and stuff they weren't right. And they're
Only one or
usually
two that
right.
I knew that got it right, but yeah, you're on a
Right.
mass scale. It was a mass
Most were
cluster.
wrong.
Yeah.
Yeah, but this is the thing about what I'm seeing right now is these potentials. That's what they are. They're potentials. Nothing is fixed in our reality. So if we don't buy in to their timeline and we really work on creating our own, the effect is going to be way bigger than we can imagine. So they've shown me this and they've said, you won. And the happy dance, the Trump
Yeah.
dance,
Yeah. Yeah.
we all need to do that dance and just
It's
trust
fun.
we've already accomplished what we came here to do. We already won. And the feeling of winning is powerful because then you get into gratitude and all these beautiful frequencies that are in opposition of what they're trying to force through our eyes right now with all these potential problems. So we're
You
going to
said
really have to be
something really
focused.
important though, Trina, and that is winning. You
Yes.
know, surprisingly, there are so many people who don't know what winning feels like.
Yes.
But when you win, and by the way, Scotty, I think I'm dressed rather appropriate. He says I'm very underdressed with the two
I
ladies
love
here.
it.
Hey,
Love
what am I going to do? I didn't get their memo. I didn't get that one. I could have put the tuxedo on, and then wouldn't that been a hell of a sight?
Oh boy,
I love
yes.
like moving.
But anyway, um, it is an opportunity that I see that's waiting because there's a lot of negativity. And then I'm thinking, Trina, let's say we're not on the same timeline. So
Mhm.
the narrative is that the world is increasing in population. Apparently there's 8.2 billion people. I don't know how they come up with these numbers,
I
but
don't
what I
either.
do know is that in many industrial nations, the problem is, and we have one now here in the United States, is the population, the we're not we're not bringing in enough new humans to compensate for those that are leaving. And the globalists, they see a large population as being a negative. The Georgia Guidestones, and the world didn't pay enough attention to them. They're gone now. I think that they were put there for a purpose for a short period of time. And that was really, we talk about the Deagle report, but the Georgia Guidestone simply said that number is 500 million.
550 million. Yes.
So
In perpetual balance to nature. Yes.
then you had the 10 laws that went behind that.
But like I said, though, these are the old systems that wrote those. I don't think those covenants are active anymore. They're fighting over who gets to write the new ones. Something's going on a much higher level, but I think we're in for a massive shift, guys, because when you change from Omega's darker systems into light systems, it's going to be very different. And we are now connecting to new solar logos. And so those old systems are going to crumble. There's no other opportunity because the matrix has shifted. It's all shifting through the new age of Aquarius. There's no getting out of this, and we will win.
Well, someone wrote that said, you see, I don't see darkness giving up.
It's
And
not going to. There's always got to be some on this planet to be in a dual system, which that's how this is
so
created.
do you
It's
think the
based on,
planet could hold more people? I mean,
yes,
course.
yes,
where do
Of
the
course.
resources come? Because water
yes.
is a big deal. I mean,
If
globally,
Wayne, if people were taking from the earth, but one day a week they were to give back to the earth, it's all about balance. So yes,
yeah, but
this
humans
planet,
are the most
yeah,
unbalanced species of
and
all.
We
that's
are.
because
We are.
of the
We come here
control.
to change. We come here to change it. That we've been conditioned to
Yes,
say that we're change this space. We are, here to change it and make it better. Well, I took a look outside today when I was walking, and my nature is beautiful and perfect in its own right. I saw trees that were bare, and I giggled with them because they were tufty at the top, like when a baby budgie's losing its feathers and its new ones are coming in, it's all tufty and bare in certain places. And I giggled with this tree because I said, "Oh, you've just got a tufty top left of trees, to be seen." And so nature outside, but if you come here, say Keir Starmer walking down the street, he walks down the street saying, "I want this, I want this, I want this, and I want it to look like this. I want to
that's right.
change it."
That's right.
He wants to stand in authority over it. He doesn't want to be a guardian to it, hey baby. And he doesn't want to be, Mummy's on a rant, and he doesn't want to be, a custodian of what's already here. He wants to change the balance of nature. Now, those stones were put there for us to be aware of in the periphery, for us to be made manifest of this fear that there were too many people on the planet. What did that breed? It bred racism. It bred fears of overpopulation. It bred greed, of there's not enough to go around. If we looked after the water properly, the way water wants to be looked after, rather than selling it out to other corporations beyond its own seas, then that water would keep replenishing itself for us. If we looked after the earth's blood, the oil, like it should be, and used it correctly, then it would keep replenishing as it still does now, but without damaging the environment. And it's because we're under this that we're magical beings here to change this wonderful space. So instead of seeing the geometric shapes in a leaf and seeing those same geometric shapes in the atoms within ourselves, we see it as somehow inferior. And we see it as somehow, and if you manipulate the data, then the lie does sell itself. And so those stones were part and put in stone was very powerful of them, and to
So,
to destroy them well, so that they're not there now is really powerful. But the data of can be manipulated to tell the story, but then it's the people who listen to that data that then live in fear of that data that make it manifest in the reality of the many. I think Trina's right on both ends
well,
in
let me
the
just throw a wrench into
timelines.
that
Yeah.
for consideration. So, by the way, those of you that in the UK, the report before we went live was that there were two major communication lines, cables that had been severed. So that's probably why you're seeing Jenny kind of glitching. So let me just be the devil's advocate because I am the devil inside. But anyway, Bum, 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 bum. um, so the other reality that's not discussed, it's being hidden from the general public. I know that the United States government, I know that the world governments know. In fact, very alarming how fast that the shift took place last month. And I'm talking about the magnetic pole shift that we are in right now. And there is serious consequence. We've got the geologic record that shows that these events are 12,000 events and the minor events are 6,000 years. We're in for a major one. We are already past due. So let me just throw this into this. There's no way that I don't think we as humans can stop this. This is something that is above us. This is something at the next level.
Yeah.
So let's say that this pole shift continues. We're seeing the effects because it's not green energy. It's not the fact of climate change. Climate change is a result of electromagnetism, and that's what the freaking poles do. And if the poles are moving, you're going to see weather patterns shift. So here's my question. Eventually, we're going to have two new poles. The Earth is going to tilt. So how does that factor into the equation? Because that means disruption. It means potentially large scale
Or
potential
correction.
deaths.
Or
Huh?
correction. Or correction.
Well,
So
it very
yeah.
well could be a
And I
correction. Yeah.
think that is what it is. That's what I've been shown. It's a correction and it's going to be hard. People have been warned to get away from the coastlines. If they don't, they don't. So this is, like you said, you can't stop what's coming, Wayne. It's
No,
not
no,
stoppable.
no, no.
And, I've been looking at the whole, green thing too. And it's like, if that was us doing this, then why did it happen to Jupiter? And why did it happen
How
to all
about
these other
Neptune?
planets? So they're all
Got
bright
knocked
arrow.
on
They
his
all
side
flip
again. And it's like,
sideways. And yeah,
geez.
I'm like, there's no climate issues there with people. So nobody's on the surface. And how did that happen? So I knew that this is so much bigger than just Earth. That was the gnosis that came with that realization. I was like, wow, this is the whole system. This isn't just us, it's the
Some
whole
people say they
system.
don't believe in the pole shift. Listen, everyone is free to draw their own conclusions.
Yeah.
All I
Yeah.
know is that last month, the North Magnetic Pole is heading for Russia, and it had its
Mm.
largest movement last month. It's been typically moving between 5.1 and 8 miles per month every
Yeah.
30 days. This last one really jumped up, so we're seeing that it's accelerating.
Mhm.
Now, everyone has their own opinion as to whether that is real or not. Your reality is your reality. But
Remember, I told you, Wayne, when we're going to start to connect to a new system of the stars. That's what I keep seeing. So that would require,
and that's
that might,
prophetic, by the way. In the book of Revelations, it
is
says
it?
that, oh,
Oh,
yes,
that's
it
right.
is.
That's
Yeah.
right. That's
It
right.
comes out and it says that in a twinkling of the eye, we're going to see the stars
Yes.
are going to change.
Yes.
And that's,
Yes.
yeah, that's where I
And that
say
would
that
happen if you tilt the earth, our view out into the cosmos.
Yes.
would
It would be
change.
off a little bit.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah,
Yes.
yeah.
Yes. And I think this is part of this grand cycle that we're in, that
Yeah.
there is no stopping it. But like I said, if you understand the severity of this shift, which means we're going to have coastal problems, we're going to have this stuff. This is going to be a shift. And for things to get connecting to new systems, there's the breaking off of the old. And this is micro, macro. This is the whole thing happening right now.
Well,
Micro,
there's a
macro.
major prophecy of Jeremiah that is coming to pass. In the book of Jeremiah, it
Mm.
said that the desert would bloom again. And if you see
Yes,
what's happening in the
yes.
Sahara now has lakes that it never had before.
And
The
did you see the
greenery is
camels?
everywhere.
Did you see the purple flowers with the
Oh,
camels? That was
it's
so
freaking
pretty.
mind blowing, you know?
Beautiful.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yes.
But
So I
subsequently,
do.
like here in the United States, we get these downpours, but a lot of the moisture has now shifted over the Sahara.
Yeah.
And, you know,
But see, this is the thing. As we move through this shift, we can influence its code and we could balance it. to where the rain distributes evenly amongst the whole planet. We literally will be learning this effect if we would only just so choose to believe it was possible. So, but I think
Yeah.
desperation will get a lot of people to those possibilities real fast because they got nothing else. So,
And if you think about these nations over in Africa, particularly that have been poor because all they had was freaking sand. But
right,
it's evident of the past civilizations that we've dug up underneath that sand that they lived in a very
abundantly.
subtropical environment.
Yes.
So you
Yes.
said it's a return back to the balance, and
Yes.
I don't have a problem with that at all.
Well, it's what they've said, when you travel through a sine wave for thousands of years on a downward, which is connecting to different lower end systems, which is experiencing more of the darkness, it's just part of a cycle. And now we're going into the upper sine wave. We're actually ascending now through the sine wave. So the vibrations are going to get higher and higher. That's why I said they can't stop what's coming because it's part of the flow of the universe. And we're moving into a new station.
So the Colburn Bible here, the bronze books,
Mhm.
it speaks of specifically, and we're not really sure how long this was written. Apparently, it was written right after the last excursion, but it talked about a time that they said it's like the moving of a clock here, or what would be a sand dial in this case, that we got flung over here and we're going to be going back across this and eventually we're going to get back to where it was. Anyway,
That's what I
I've
do
been
think.
studying this a lot here lately, so
It's a cycle, and I don't think it's just
Yeah.
um the balance, the right balance or wrong balance. I think it's just the cycle of the scales have to balance and calibrate, like the pendulum has to swing,
yeah, yeah.
Yes.
And if we want to go deep into this, I said it years ago, if we want to go deep into this, then if we're truly to believe in the spirituality and not believe, know in the spirituality that we know in this space, in this room, and the science that we know that is interlinked with that spirituality, inseparable, really, real science and real mathematics, real geometry, and we do here and delve into it here, then we do realize and we do know that we are made of the same ingredients as the stars are. We do
Yes.
know that when we go within, we are communicating with the same ingredients that the stars are made of. So I do feel like Trina's right again in that, yes, I'm not being complacent in the fact that these beings that are in power are going to try and control things, but the light is on the within, and it's about really truly recognizing and letting go of the conditionings that would tell us that we can't interact with the new incoming sun and celestial system now, that we can't interact with that within our own bodies because it's of the same dust that we're made of, the dust to dust, ashes to ashes was ringing through my mind when Trina was talking.
Yeah.
And I know some people would have a
It's
negative connotation of.
interesting. So have you ever heard the term sentinels?
Yes.
Yes.
So I'm just reading in the Nag Hammadi on the origin of the world. So it is a thought that's been written that when these great changes are about to take place, that there are sentinels. You could say gatekeepers, you can say watchers on the wall, but they are born into humanity, and who knows, we may be one of those. But
I
we are,
wrote a blog
but
on it just
they
2 days
possess
ago.
the insight, the ability to see these things, and they become sentinels, guides for the rest of humanity to begin to adapt to this new way.
Yes.
And
Yeah.
I'm telling you, it doesn't
But
surprise
I
me.
literally, a sentinel is literally a sentient intelligence, and it's just being able to tune in. It's just like, what is God? God is what you can tune into. It's not a thing or a person or a man, or it's It's an energy, a frequency of life itself, and it's information. And you get what you can tune into.
And I bring in reference to this book of Revelation, the two witnesses. The two
Yes.
witnesses were born, incarnated back into that. If you go with the narrative of that story, that those two witnesses, they were reincarnated for the specific moment at the specific time to deliver a specific message that would begin to move mankind.
You know what I see is the two witnesses, Wade?
Who?
I see the two witnesses are the 12 cranial nerves in the brain. You have 12 on each side. The 12 disciples, the two witnesses. It's the differences between the right hemisphere and the left hemisphere, recording all of the information of your processes through your lifetime. Those are the two witnesses. And one is recording in the etherical body field, the emotional, and the other is in the causal. So you've got the cause and the effect, that's what's the two witnesses I see. And those literally are sitting inside your own mind.
Are y'all ready for this? And I know we're going to go over, folks, because it's just you like it, and so we're going to deliver it to you a little bit. So, in one of the stations I listen to, because I like to keep the pulse of everything. So I'm on this one Christian conservative station, and they had a guy on there, and I had to tell Lynn, I said, "Are you hearing what he just said?" So they're talking about fluoride, right? That JFK Jr., one of his first acts will be the removal of all fluoride in the water in the United States. I'm hearing Christian now, and I told Lynn, I said, this guy is a mystic. He's a Christian mystic, because here he's telling these straight Christians, these straight conservatives, I call them straights, but and he said, what's going to happen? He says within months of the water being depleted of the fluoride, he says we are expecting the activation, the reactivation of the pineal gland. And he said, by the way, where it is, he says it's right here. And he described it as a pine cone, and it sits there. And I'm sitting there slack-jawed, and I'm going, am I hearing this right? And what he says will follow is that he says you're going to see humans begin to change.
Yes.
I went, okay. I just find it interesting that you have,
Because
which is
Wayne,
considered mainstream
when
Christianity.
we can decalcify the pineal gland,
Yes, well, that's what I'm
it's
saying,
going to activate the thyroid. The thalamus is going to start to regenerate inside the heart. The glands, it's going to start to repair. And the frequencies that we have not been able to tune into, we will now be able to perceive.
See, that's my point. I think that I wanted to call in and say, well, I happen to agree with you, but I think this is what's going to happen. I think you're going to see a mass exodus beyond what you're seeing now.
Well,
So there's
yeah.
going to have to be a new system in place for all
Yeah.
these millions of people that's going through the decalcifization, reawakening process, and even their religion.
Yes.
Probably come over here, over the Jenny and your channel and other channels, because they're going to be looking, it's like, all right. But anyway, I digress.
They're going to want to tune in to the new
We're
channels.
going to
And,
have some
that's
more
what
of this.
and look at all
That's
the
all I got to
people.
say.
Wayne, look at the phenomenon now of people who
The
are
reason
channeling.
that
Look
fluoride
at,
came in is
yeah, it's crazy how many people now are tuning in and they're connecting to things they've never been able to connect to before.
True.
And they're
Yeah.
finding out they're mediums and they're this and they're that. That's all just, those are natural human abilities that we have been cut off from due to the foods and the fluorides and all of
Yeah.
these
I mean,
different things
apparently
and
that's going to be
toxins.
cleared up. Who'd have ever
And
thought
this is
that?
part of the shift. Have you ever heard that they were going to clean that up in your lifetime? No, not till now. But it's
And
because of
isn't
the
it odd?
cry of the people. It's the
So,
cry of the
yeah.
people. It manifests in the system. This is what it is. And we want these things in our life now. But we never even were aware of these things 20 years ago.
So food
Look how much.
coloring is a big
Yes.
deal. So
Yes.
last
Especially
week, did you
red.
hear what happened in Kentucky? The largest food coloring company in the United States caught fire and is destroyed.
oops a daisy.
So I'm thinking, Well, is that just coincidence or irony? I mean, so we got this red dye, the blue dye and what have you, and the one company that makes a lot of this shit, it burned up, and I think a person was killed, a number of employees
Oh,
were hurt because it blew up.
damn.
Hmm. I
I,
don't know. The conspiracy part of me says, hmm, because
Yeah.
for the last 4 years, they have been destroying food processing facilities all through the United States. The number's over 1,100.
And I
yeah.
really think this was to try to hurt. And I think that so many people are catching on. They're going to be growing and preparing and getting ready. And we will modify our behaviors and we will do different things when these things fall apart. And I think that was to try to harm us. And it's literally the keys that set us free from the cages we were put into. So this is a celebration.
Yeah, I
It's
mean,
going to be tough, but
we're
yeah,
expanding our garden for next spring. I mean, I've already mapped it out. We have 100 by 100 square foot garden now, which is,
yeah,
Lynn says, "Are you really going to take care of all that?" I said,
yeah.
"Yeah." I said,
We
"Yeah,
might
I'm just
have
going to be
to.
Farmer Wayne. I'm going
Right.
to set up my vegetable and fruit stand."
That's right. And then you know
This,
what? You'll be able to help people who weren't prepared and give them seeds and help them get their started. Because
Mm.
this is where we've got to get back to these things, because this will be the saving of what we love about this planet, which is the part of it that exists in harmony with nature. And part of existing in harmony with nature is getting involved with it and putting your hands in it and being responsible for some of the things that you need as a physical being to sustain your body. So
And
this is a cooperation. And when we get back to that, it's going to change fast.
well, to show how great favors on my life, my next door neighbor just bought a tractor. And he's got
Yeah.
this front end loader. And so I've talked to him, and because that was going to be a lot of rototilling. I mean, I was not really looking forward to that. And so he said, "Oh, hell no." He says, we'll come in, and I'll
Chill
scoop
it up
down to about
one
18
day.
inches, and then we'll bring in some fresh topsoil, and I'll go ahead and level it out for you and row it for you at the same time. And I said, "That's what I'm talking about. That's favor."
Right. That's what I'm talking about. Let's get it done.
It's
See?
like, uh-huh. I was like,
Yeah,
I
that's
feel pretty
awesome.
special. Yeah.
That's
Yeah. The
favor. You
universe takes
see?
care of me.
That's favor, and the universe
It
is
is
making
favor.
it
That's
so much
winning.
easier. It's making it easy because it's like you're in alignment. This is going to come together with means and ways you never even saw coming. Look, your neighbor just bought a tractor. Holy crap. That's a pretty good bonus for your
Yeah.
manifestation, Wayne. See,
Front
it's
end
this
loader,
is
back
yes, this
leveler,
is
and he's got an
yeah.
attachment, and he showed me that'll make the
nice.
rows coming out. And I said, far out.
See, Wayne wins. It's working.
Wayne wins. Yeah. Yeah.
It's
And actually,
working.
been winning a
WW.
lot. So y'all just keep thinking that, if you want to put
Hey,
your name in
everybody,
front.
before we go, Mary's having a hard time right now with her health and she's not feeling well. So we could
Oh,
send a lot of healing to her, and we're pretty sure she might have a little parasite issue. So if we could see those dissolving and removing from the body,
Yeah,
that
I
might
can
be very
send those.
beneficial.
do we have
Get
any
a
way
get
of
her
getting her
address,
anything that
Trina.
can help on that?
Yeah,
Huh?
I'll send us get her address, Trina or Wayne, and I'll send it tomorrow. The anti-parasitic stuff. I will
Yeah,
Okay.
tomorrow.
she's
I'll
she's
do it.
she's just
Okay.
not
The
feeling
extra.
well. So let's just send some real
Yeah.
happy mojo to her. And
Mary, we
I,
love you, darling.
yeah,
And just giving you a big hand, just laying my hands on you. Yeah, we speak death to those parasitic little bastards.
that's right. And most people
Little
have
bitches,
some
too. I
type
just
of
want to
an
make
issue.
sure that I'm covering
They are.
both genders, the
That's right.
bastards and the
We're
bitches,
equal
the
opportunity.
B and
Kiss my
B.
ass, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Don't think they mind.
Oh, well, I know we've really gone over, but what a freaking show, man. I mean, we opened up with a series. And listen, when we end this show, that reality is still there. But I'm going to tell you what, we today made and it's like the little boy that put his finger in the dike, we could be very well that little finger that helps plug that hole, so to speak.
That's right. And put your energy, amplify your energy with the intentions of the children. Man, from the mouths of the wise, it's children. So
Yeah,
just know that, man, they are so pure and just pure with their intentions, and love them, embrace them, and make them feel safe so they can really shine, and we can amplify their work and
yeah,
unify with their work and their will. And so
yeah.
be it. May it be done and be amplified exponentially.
Paul Joe says turmeric is a good parasite killer.
Yeah.
Is it?
Yeah.
I don't. Yeah.
Hmm.
Jenny, y'all know that. John says castor oil. You know, as a kid,
Hmm.
was forced to take that. I didn't like it much then, and I don't like much of it today. I understand they've been able to perfect get the flavor out, but
Well, I will tell you, all the healthy
mm,
kids the olden days in the 50s and 60s, they'd ask them, they're like, why are your kids never sick? The most common response given was because we detox our children's bowels and we give them a parasite treatment each once a year.
well, my
Yeah,
grandmother, she was the one who raised me as a younger kid. That milk of magnesia. I remember that it's still to this day.
that's
The
naturally.
stuff
You're
really
like,
works. That's all I
no,
got to say.
no.
It's like yuck. But
Yeah, well, we got to clean. They got
it's
to clean the body, and especially got to kill the bugs if you got them. So
and I was a
that's very
carrier of strep
important.
throat. In the first grade, all the kids were getting sick.
Mhm.
Except for me.
My niece did too, Wayne.
Yeah.
My niece did that. She was a
You
carrier
know
of
what their
strep.
solution was? My dad was in the Air Force, and so my grandmother had to take me to the Air
Multiple
Force
rounds of
base.
antibiotics. Yes.
Every morning at 8:30, they'd give me a
Yeah.
shot of penicillin, and that was back in the day. Penicillin is real thick and it really
Yeah.
doesn't break down.
Yeah.
But for twice a day for 10 days,
Yeah.
and to this very day, every time my grandmother would take us into the medical building, it was that smell of alcohol. I mean, I can still smell it. You know. Yeah,
Yeah.
anyway.
You know how we got
Well,
rid of my nieces?
how's that?
High doses of colostrum, bovine organic colostrum. And it was literally, it took about 3 weeks. And it was the first time in 3 years that she didn't have to go on an antibiotic round and then once it got better, it took a few weeks, but once it got completely better, she's never had strep again. It's like and you too, you don't get strep now, right?
No, I can tell
She
you as a
doesn't
kid, it
either.
was a pain in the ass.
Her too. She
Literally.
said
Yeah.
for 2 years, Wayne, 2 years
Yeah.
she was
Yeah.
doing that for 2 years. Yep.
Yeah.
And it's gone. Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
he cat, good to see you. You'll be Jenny
So
to me
good to see all of
always.
you.
You know, you're our Jenny, and that's just the way it is. Kind of feel
Mm.
like
Yeah.
Forrest Gump. You're our
Yeah.
Oh,
Jenny, and
Jenny,
the world's a better
You're
place
our
with our
Jenny.
Jenny. That's all I
That's
got to
right.
say. You know,
Yep.
love you too. Everyone in
yeah,
here.
Mm.
yep. She's
Mm.
our
This is
Jenny.
good.
Don't mess with her.
Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah. You
Right.
didn't know now. Yeah,
Because
I love it. Yeah,
we'll be
yeah.
like that little toddler, the little 5-year-old talking about the monsters. I'm going to kick
Mhm.
their
Yeah.
ass. Why is that?
That's
Because they're going to
right.
want to come in and kick my ass.
That's
I sent
right.
Bill out before. I was like, this is adult talk because he wanted to stay, but I didn't want us to not have to speak about what we're having to speak about. But
Yeah,
I'm being really careful to not have much, online or
sure.
like live
Yeah,
right now because well, hold on a minute. If I'm wanting to zero in, and I have been for weeks now, and really meditating strong, then I need, because the amount of worries that these children are getting just from the periphery, of schooling, of
yeah,
academia, of just they put news round on in the schools for them. I mean, what's the point in that? To bring the headlines right into their consciousness. And I'm thinking, hold on a minute, this is adult problems that adults have caused. You guys, don't. So as well that it would. I agree with him knowing enough that he knows enough to connect into that space of wanting food for everybody, peace for everybody, love for everybody. But yeah, but that's Yes, I sent him out earlier to say,
Well, he knows
don't
we
let.
love him, and
Oh, he does. He
because
does.
Theo is he's our guy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Little
That's all I got to say. He's the
mascot.
dude, you know.
Yeah.
He's the dude. That's all you got to
Yeah.
say, He's the dude. Well, everyone in the chat room, thank you for listening and being a part of this. We love you all, Chloe and Gaia, Scotty, and all the rest of y'all. We thank you. You're the ones that make this what it is, and love wins. Mary wins. We love you, darling. And we'll be make sure to get to Jenny, and we'll
Yep.
get you some stuff going here. And
Yes.
so thank you, ladies. It's always such an honor, and
Love
just
you all.
it's a kick, man. It's just fun. That's all I got to say. It's fun.
It
There
is.
is more satisfaction in an hour that we spend together than I think most people ever get in a week.
Yeah.
We get 1 hour.
I
Absolutely.
told her, I need my Wayne time and my Jenny time. It's like a thing. It's
I
my
need my.
thing for my, yeah.
Yeah,
It's
yeah,
like,
Yeah.
oh, and I
yeah.
get to connect with all of you. And boy, that just makes my heart feel whole. And the strength you guys give me, thank you for being part of my soul tribe. Appreciate you.
Yeah, we
Yeah.
we be a
Oh,
trinity here. That's all I got to
Yeah.
say. We be a
Yeah.
trinity,
be
three-legged
Trini.
stool.
Pyramids of power.
Oh, and I found one that Marcia Price, who Marcia, we love you because I know you still listen. I
Love
think I
Martha.
have to get it out next week because Jenny, we're going to bring out some of your stuff that we're going to be talking about. So, but yeah, it was one of those huge pyramids. Yeah. Anyway.
Oh, I have a beautiful one with her with a dual carved male female expression. And it was for Brian and I. It was in memory of Brian. I was like, here's
Yeah.
me and Brian. I'm going to put this love into this crystal, and it put it into an orgone pyramid, and she anchored it. And it's so cool.
I seen me that. All
It's
right,
huge.
everybody. Mwah. Much love to you. We will see you next week, and I'll see most of you all tomorrow as we continue to pick up on AI. Another discussion. All right.